Hi guys, today we're going to discuss how to trade support and resistance. So, for someone who's starting at the beginning of the week, we always do the same thing. Remember, we start from the weekly. You should have your monthly zones highlighted in the beginning of the month. That's when we always do it, and we evaluate what we're expecting for the month. So that should be in your journal as well. So for throughout the month, at the beginning of the week, you always have to highlight your high and low for the previous week, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to put our zones for the previous week. Our previous week was an indecision candle, and that says a lot. Remember, the week before, we had done analysis. The week before actually, we did analysis for USD card on. I will link the video. We should have a USD card analysis that I did, or it's the video how to stop being a fearful trader. That's where we did our USD analysis, and price did exactly what we were expecting. It rejected the low that we were expecting price to reject, which is this low. As you can see, remember, if someone watched that video, I'm sure they will remember me saying instead of buying it that where price was at, we should wait for price to at least reach this low, wait for it to reject, and then we can enter for price to possibly go higher, right? However, last week price gave us an indecision candle. So price could give us a lower week and then reverse and give us an upper week fill and continue going higher, or price could go down, but I think chances here are price could go higher more. So with that in mind, we're already keeping in mind that price who might go higher, so we have to look at the possibility of getting buy trades mostly this week. However, if price does break our previous weekly low, then we know price has to fall to our next low, which would be this low right here, right? So you already have a weekly view set up. If price breaks your support, your last week low for the previous week, right? That's your support. If it breaks that support, then you know price is going to fall to the next support. So you already have a support view or a support setup right here, and you also have the if price breaks the resistance from our previous week, the high, then price has to go higher to our target that we mentioned in the other video. However, we will just put another target here. I would expect price to at least reach the high, because this is the last area price created some sort of support. The last support price broke, so now it's now resistance. So this already on the weekly time frame, it's already a support and resistance setup that's going on. So the best thing that you can do for yourself, I know some people are very smart and they will know either way, but just in case, I would suggest highlighting your zone so that you know which zone that is when you're on the lower time frame, because it's not necessary for you to keep on going to the higher time frames during the week. If they are highlighted properly, you can just go to your trading time frames and you just stay there because your zones are already highlighted, so you know. So we're going to say weekly low, right? And then weekly target, right? And then we're going to say weekly high and weekly target, right? So we're done on the weekly time frame. That's what we're looking at on the weekly time frame. For someone who trades only the weekly time frame, this is what they are looking for. This is an indecision candle, but it's also a reversal candle, so price has higher chances of going higher. That's why we are looking for buy trades during the week, right? So the next thing that you need to do, you can adjust on the daily time frame, because whatever zones you have on the weekly time frame are based on weeks, but then on the daily time frame, you don't want them to be cutting through candles. That's why we always adjust our zones. Some people are okay with their zones cutting through candles, but I'm not. So I will adjust my zones when necessary. All right. So there isn't anything that we need to add on the daily time frame. The only thing that we could add could be this resistance. So we're going to highlight that as daily resistance, right? Because for price to get to our weekly target, price will have to break this resistance, all right? So that could be your first target. Before price reach your weekly target, this would be your first target, and then for there, you can get price to reach the weekly target, all right? So already placing these resistances, right? We're already being given setups, and that we just need to watch out for. So what or how do you trade those setups, right? So what we'll be looking for is, if price is rejecting this low, right, we want price to break, right, give us some sort of a retest, right, and then for price to go to our target, right? The same thing, you want price to give you some sort of a breakout, trade above, maybe some sort of a consolidation, even another big retest from that breakout, right? Because this is now a weekly breakout, another retest for price to go higher. So this gives you the opportunity to even re-enter when price gives us the retest for the breakout, because yes, price can do a breakout here, retest it, right, and then go higher to our target, give us a small range, give us another retest. Now this will be called a swing low stop hand, right, for price to go higher, right? This is where they trick retail traders into thinking that price is selling when they give us the swing low stop hand or a swing high stop hand. All right. So this is something that we could be looking for. For sales, we would be looking for price to give us some sort of a breakout, right? Retest, and then for price to drop. Our first target would possibly be this area right here. Now this is our first support that we can look at for price to reject, and then from there we might see, considering what we have to our left, if you look to your left, you might see a small correction for price to drop low, because price will most likely copy the same structures that we have to our left. In other days when the market is good, that's when you just get one big candle that's covering this structure. All right. So that's something that you could expect for price to do on the weekly time frames. Oh, this is the daily time frame, on the daily time frame. All right. So the next thing that we need to do is go on the daily time frame. But before we go on the daily time frame, the reason why I'm pointing these as our targets, it's because if you look to your left, there is clean traffic. You don't have any, you just have bearish candles going down. There's no any bullish candles, so that means there's clean traffic. If there was some sort of a bullish candle, then price would have a conflict there. Then we might possibly have a strong support or resistance, or just a minor zone, right? Even if you look to your left, you have two bullish candles. That's clean traffic. So price has higher chances of copying the same pattern that price did this side, because price creates price always repeats itself. It copies whatever similarities like it might find on your left. Did I explain that correctly? Correct, but it's price always repeat itself basically. Just take it like that. Yeah, price always repeats itself. If it doesn't repeat exactly what it did to your left, it might do something similar. From our gold trade that we did last week, the analysis that we did last week, you can see that price always repeats itself when it was completing the week fills, because that week fill was also on the weekly time frame, but we also ended up seeing a trade setup very similar on a Tuesday, on a daily weekly on a daily week fill actually. Yeah, and we caught those trades. So I hope whoever watched that video also caught the trade. So the next thing that you want to do is go on the 4-hour time frame, right? I know some people trade on the 4-hour time frame. These are period separators. I like to know what's in a day. All right, on the 4-hour time frame, we have to adjust first. I always prefer to adjust my zones. I trade on the 1-hour time frame. So we always adjust our zones, right? So the next thing that we need to do is we need to add something on the 4-hour time frame. If there is something to add, if there is nothing for you to add, you don't have to add anything. But I would say we have a minor zone right here, right? The good thing about this 4-hour time frame view, right, it's creating a multi-session peak formation. And when we have a peak formation, especially a multi-session peak formation, price is most likely going to give us a big move soon. So the multi-session peak formation, we have the first thing that I'd like to point out that I really like would be this trail runner right here. That's a trail runner, right? That created a low, that created a reversal point. That was our first signal, right? And then yes, price went lower, created a pin bar, another pin bar, which is a very nice good signal, right? And then price went higher, and then it came back to retest, and then it went higher, right? Another indecision candle. That's actually something very good to notice. If you see this indecision candle, right? If we go on our weekly time frame, let's go on our weekly time frame. Same exact candle. What did it do on the 4-hour time frame? It went higher. What can we expect for price to possibly go higher? That's why we are looking to enter buy trades more than sell trades. So the fact that price has created a new low right here is what makes things very interesting. All right, this low right here is what makes things very interesting, because if price breaks this low, right, it's gonna reach this low, and if it stays below this low, then we have higher chances of price dropping. But if price can reject this area right here, now this becomes my area of interest. I would like to see what price does around this area. If it stays below this area, then we might see price going lower. If it stays above this area, then we know price has higher chances of doing exactly what we want it to do, right? This is actually going to be very interesting next week, because even if you look at for people who trade patterns, or for patterns, right, we can even say we have a shoulder, we have a head, right, we have another shoulder, and price to go higher, right? Exactly what we're expecting. So now this head and shoulders, or even just the W, that's what we call our peak formation, right? This is a multi-session peak formation because this happened over 1, 2, 3, 4 days, or considering this one 5 days, right? The whole week. So this would be a multi-session peak formation, and these ones produce the biggest results, right? So this is actually a very good setup to be looking at this coming week. Even if price drops, that's still a very good setup. Then it just becomes it just becomes another peak formation, because yeah, there is a bearish peak formation also. You could say maybe from here right down, then if price manages to come down here, we have an M, right? That's a peak formation, a bearish peak formation, price for price to go down. So both ways, we have something very interesting that's coming this week, and that's all being produced by support and resistance, nothing else. The fact that we're noticing the peak formation, just knowledge that we use to enter trades, for us to find the right moment to enter the trade, right? Just confirmations for us to enter the trade, something that gives us more confidence in what we are seeing. All right, but everything else, or the direction I was shown by the support and resistance, it's only that I'm now using candles and some patterns to give me confluence in my confirmations. That way we are more confident in our trades. When we place our trades, we are very confident. We're not changing our stop losses and TPs. We are just confident with what we have and what we have done and what we've placed, and that's it. We're just waiting for the results. So we prefer to trade on the 1-hour time frame. We can have weekly trades, but also on the 1 hour time frames for the daily trades, they are also very much interesting and enjoyable to trade for us. Yeah, so now on the 1 hour time frame, this is where I mostly like to adjust my zones. This is where it's very important, because I would not want my lines, my levels to be cutting through candles. They need to be on the right area, so that when price comes to that area, I know what I'm expecting. I know if price closes below this area, it's very much correct. It's not just guesswork. So I'll put one and right here. So I'm going to highlight this, that this came from the 4 hour time frame. Those are the two levels that I put on the 4 hour time frame. So should say 4 hour interest, area of interest. You can use your own words that makes you understand more. I will know why mine are like that. That's why I'm putting them like that. All right. So these zones that I have right now, they're all from higher time frames, right? So if I'm trading them on the 1 hour time frame, I know that if they are confluencing with the 1 hour zones, are confluencing with the 4 hour zones, or the daily or the weekly, then I know how strong and important they are. Then I know how much valid, if I'm entering the right trade, how much valid that trade is, and it gives me, how can I say it, relief. You don't have to stress about the trade. You know it's correct, so you know you can expect it to go to where it's going, because, well, you have been waiting for it, you are prepared for it, so you know what you're doing, right? So on the 1 hour time frame, we'll put a couple of minor zones, areas that price might reject or play around before it goes to where it's going. So all my zones that won't be highlighted, I know that they're coming from the 1 hour time frame, sometimes the 30-minute time frame, if we're looking for scalp trades. We don't like to trade on time frames that are lesser than 15-minute time frame. Scalp trades, 30-minute time frame. 15 and 5 in 1 hour time frame, those are stressful, and if you like stress, those are for you, but we prefer a more chilled, relaxed life. So 30 minutes going higher, that's it, right? Even the 30-minute time frame, you also need to be calm and in control. Be in control. Don't let the markets be in control. You be in control. All right. So our setup right now, we have our zones, we have our support and resistance aligned properly, right? So we have a resistance right here. What can we expect? We could expect price to maybe come back to retest it, come lower to retest this area. Now this is an area of interest. Price might want to come back to give us the weekly lower wick before price going higher. It's very much possible, and we would actually want price to come down when the week opens, the first days of the week, for it to actually come down first. That gives us the lower wick for the weekly candle before it goes higher, because if it comes down and give us the lower wick first, that's giving us the best confirmation that price is going to go higher. Always, if any candle that opens, always watch where it goes first. If it goes lower first, it's most likely going to close above. If it goes higher first, it's most likely going to close below, depending on the setup and the situation. But wicks are very important, especially at the beginning of the candle. That's why they say don't place a trade in the first 5 minute of the opening of a candle. Watch what it's doing first, because that's where it takes out stop losses first before it goes into the direction that it wants to go. But yes, this is everything that you can expect for the coming from the week. This is how you trade your support and resistance. This is how I place my support and resistance. It's neat. There's not too much zones. I'm just using these support and resistance, especially the ones that I found on the higher time frames, the highest time frame setups to trade. I just trade them on the lower time frame. The lower time frame that you find, that's where you find the perfect entry, but supported by the higher time frame support and resistance. So this is how we trade our support and resistance. If you guys have any questions or would like to add anything, please email us, and I hope you have a good day or good evening wherever you are. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed.